Hello and welcome to the Happy Hour Hustle podcast with our host, Kim Bodie.
I am absolutely thrilled to be chatting with you.
Principal and fearless leader of 834 Integrated Communication. On this podcast, you're going to learn a lot about a lot, like public relations, marketing, digital, and advertising.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Forgive us if you hear some dogs in the background. We are obsessed with them, and there is a medium-sized pack at the office at all times.
Fantastic.
So grab a glass of wine, preferably one with ice in it, and learn a little something today.
Hey, everybody. This week on Happy Hour Hustle, we're talking about the looming government shutdown and how it will impact and is already impacting small businesses. And joining us today is Sue Tellier, who is the, president and owner? Is it CEO and owner? I just always love when small businesses
You just pick.
Too.
Queen.
All right, I'm going to call you CEO today. All right.
Okay,
CEO
cool.
and owner of JetCo Federal. JetCo Federal is a prime federal contractor serving the supply chain management and logistics spaces for DoD, Department of Defense, and other agencies. How'd I do? Pretty good?
Yeah, that was solid.
Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, we're really good at it. I mean, we've been doing it for like 16 years. We're not newbies at the space. We decided to sell to the defense industry because we get juiced by that. We want to protect the warfighter. We want to support it. Yeah, there's complexity to it, and we don't like to be bored. So this was a conscious choice, not an accident, us selling primarily to government and mostly to DoD. I mean, that's a choice. Yeah.
Some people would think it would be an accident, but no, you sought it out.
Some people think I should day drink. That's the thing. Bodie, you might be one.
Which to be clear, I am, because this is Happy Hour Hustle. And also it's 11:30. And I don't really think that qualifies.
I'm judging you a little bit. I'm not ready.
Yeah, well, as you should. Okay, so I want to recap the latest because, we narrowly avoided a shutdown it was a few weeks ago. No, October?
Yeah, it was September 30th. It was actually, I'm sorry for the background noise there, September 30th.
Right before the government New Year.
Right before, yep. Happy government New Year. We actually got a CR for the government New Year. That was our present. But it came so late. I'm sorry. You go now.
So right now there's a stopgap spending bill in place that's keeping the government funded through November 17th, which is way less than a month away now. What is practically only 17 days away.
November 17th.
Not real great. Yeah, that really didn't help us at all.
And we didn't have a speaker for most of that time. So far we haven't had a speaker for a good chunk of the time.
That's what I was going to say, because now we have Mike Johnson. Has anybody heard of him? No, us neither.
No,
but he was the guy who happened to be in the room. So here he is. He's now speaker, and that is great.
I think there was a little bit more complexity to it than that, just in case Congress is listening. We respect you.
I don't know. I don't think
I don't really respect you very much. Pass a budget. For God's sake, just pass a budget.
Yeah. For the love of all that's holy.
Seriously.
Okay, so now we have a Speaker of the House, which is great. House Speaker, fantastic. He's number 2 in line for the presidency, which isn't terrifying at all. So anyway, there's a lot on their plate and a lot they need to actually get done. Unlike small business owners, they don't necessarily put in the hours we do. So we're just hoping they can maybe accomplish something before November 17th. I do want to say before I get into some of this, really what the impact is going to be. I want you to kind of tell your story about around September 30th, what happened with you with just the threat of this government shutdown.
And it's amazing that it doesn't take a government shutdown to completely impact operations at a small federal contractor. Well, a large federal contractor for that matter. I mean, all of us are affected, but I think maybe proportionally it hits us a little bit bigger at a small business because, we don't have as many people, I'm wearing a lot of hats. Just the threat of the government shutdown, and keep in mind, I'm delivering into DoD facilities. Just the threat of the shutdown had 3 of my loads rejected. Because the carriers who were taking my loads, and we're good at this, these are repeat carriers. They didn't think they'd be able to make the delivery. So we had to book those loads multiple times. Many of our facilities who were not, we know that our DoD deliveries still have to go. We already know that because we've been doing this for a long time, but some non-DoD agencies that are federal agencies who are our customers don't even know if they're going to be open. And so when I'm trying to schedule, deliveries of boxes to the IRS, I can't even schedule them. I mean, they're like, yeah, we don't really know if we're going to be open, but I'm going to be penalized if my delivery is late. So I'm supposed to deliver something on, October 4th, and you guys aren't really sure if you'll be in operation. But if my shit's not there, it's still my fault. It's just, there's so much there that they don't really factor in. Now, that's not across the board. Like a lot of especially my DoD customers know what kind of ripple effect that has. They're a little bit more sophisticated. They have a really good sense of what this does to us. So they give latitude. Like I was waiting for a first article to be approved and it got delayed because it delays them too. It's not just delaying me. Within the agency itself, they're not sure which of their employees are essential and which ones are not. Can you imagine how that affects morale within the agency? Meh, we don't really need you. What does it even mean?
Like, do you need me or do you not need me? Am I important? Am I not important? Because it's like,
do I have a
like
job?
you said, it affects small business. It affects the small businesses. It also furloughs government employees, which we actually, because we obviously support a lot of small businesses, but we also have some GovCon clients. And we had a project that was about to kick off. And our client reached out and said, listen, I don't know what's going to happen. I got to be really cautious with like our finance and our finances and our spending right now. I need to pause this until we know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
And
because they don't know if they're going to get paid
got
on those contracts.
Yeah.
In some of the contracts, like staffing contracts, you still have to perform, but you're not really sure you're going to get paid. You have to pay the salary of the people who are performing, but we'll let you know if we're going to pay you. It's not a way that businesses should have to function. It's a major risk.
No.
Actually, it's been a major risk, but for the last 10 years in the GovCon space, it's something that we know that we occasionally have to take the risk of being the bank of the federal government because they can't pay us because of shutdown. Was it 2013 that we shut down for a bunch of days because of Ted Cruz? Still mad at him.
Yeah.
Still mad.
Ted, go back to Mexico. Go take your vacation. But on top of that, like I think it's important, to note that, well, also they have zero idea. I feel like they don't have zero idea how much it impacts us. There's not like that, and they're so busy trying to shove through their own agendas or their own and all of us, I don't care for Republicans, Democrats, independent, whatever we are. We don't care. We just need you to pass the damn budget and keep the doors open. That's it.
Just pass the damn budget. And it'd be cool for I feel badly for the agencies as well, because they're held to standards, to performance standards even, and they have to budget for 6 weeks and then 4 months and then maybe 8 months if they're really lucky. They don't get a full year budget. That hasn't happened since like FY09 or something. I mean, they don't make budgets anymore. They just rely on CRs. That's crap. That is, Bodhi, is that how you budget for your company? That is not. You're not like, hey, I'm going to make myself a 6-week budget. Cool. That's good enough.
Well, and we have, from our involvement with Women in Defense, Michigan, the largest chapter in the country.
Take that, DC.
Yeah, in the country. We're kicking DC's ass. I hope the Capitol chapter is listening in, because we will have to forward this.
We will have to forward this.
Obviously, I will make sure this is shared widely. But even that, we know several people that obviously are working within government, and just the amount of time they were putting in, the hours they were putting in case of the shutdown. I mean, it completely derails everything. So they're trying to get things completed as soon as they can. They're trying to plan for, okay, to your point, is it 6 weeks? Is it 8 weeks? Like, how long is this going to last? And then what do I need to do? Because they cannot work. Like, that's it.
No, they're not allowed.
Property.
Like, they can't, if they're not working, they can't answer an email. That's not a thing. They don't get to. You're right. And I don't know. I feel bad for them. That's not what they want. That's not, they're just the delivery vehicle, right?
Yeah.
When they say, I'm not really sure if we're going to be open next week, but we need you to deliver on time. They're just the messenger.
And they're some of the hardest working people too, next to small business owners. Let's not get carried away, but there's some of the hardest working people.
No, for sure. The people who are the end users and the contracting officers, this isn't on them. It's not their job to pass a budget.
So let's be sure that your anger is directed in the correct place. It's not the government agencies. Focus on the government.
Congress, pass a budget.
All those people. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
I want to kind of bullet point out some of the essentially some of the what this means, what the impact this is going to have. So you've got reduced access to government resources. So obviously small businesses depend on government resources such as loans, contracts, and permits. Hell, we have an SBA loan for our building. During the shutdown, access to these resources can be disrupted or delayed. So again, you're bankrolling in some regards. More expensive small business loans, disrupted or halted contracts, which is what you just talked about. Delayed paychecks and federal benefits. So like you got veterans that were receiving benefits and suddenly they're gone. They're dried up. You're not getting them. Sorry, can't send the check.
Military
Obviously,
veterans
or
or like active military members. Yeah, cool.
yeah,
Thanks
active
for
military. Yeah,
protecting our country. We're just
yeah,
not going to actually pay you.
yeah. So what's this guy's name again? Is it Mike? Come on, Mike.
I'm still on Ted Cruz. I'm still mad at Ted Cruz, actually. Yeah.
I know. Well, we're all mad at Ted
2013
Cruz.
is
That's
not
just
going
a
to
given.
die. You know why I'm
No,
so mad at
it's
him,
not.
Bodie? Because that's the year that I trained for a marathon. Do you remember this story? You remember, because I was ranting and raving. That was the year that I trained for a marathon. It's the only marathon I've ever done. And my sister and I were running it, and we were running it. That was the
only full marathon you've ever done.
The only full marathon, yeah. But we were training for the Towpath Marathon, which was in the national park. And so our marathon got canceled because of Ted Cruz. Those were 20-mile runs on Saturdays. I didn't have a life for a really long time training for that thing. Thanks, Ted.
Yeah,
we found a different marathon to do
during that time.
Yeah, I was not that fun.
Of course you did. No, you weren't fun at all. No,
that's
in
fair.
fact, you shouldn't be running now because, as your physical therapist would say, your ankles are shot. So stop.
Hey, let's piss off. Let's just piss off on the running bashing.
I'm just throwing this out there so everyone knows. I have officially called you out publicly. So
we are off topic. Where's the tangent button?
I'm certain people would agree with me. Fine. Back to this. What else does it? Oh, negative impact on the economy. Well, duh.
Yes.
Not just. Oh well. I like to say small businesses are the backbone of the economy. Well, we can't be the backbone. I'm the only one who has a drink. So
everybody drink. That is the phrase that makes us drink, because elected officials love saying it. They just don't like passing budgets so that we can actually, serve them.
It's true. It's true.
Hey, I want to add one. I want to just add one little thing in there that I don't think we had talked about before, and that is that major acquisition programs slow down. So, if we want a new joint vehicle platform, that's in prototype development right now, when it needs to move into low rate production, that gets slowed down. Maybe not just by the threat. Maybe there's an actual shutdown required for that, but new acquisitions don't get let. I mean, I've got a bid I've been looking for about 18 months now. It still hasn't been let. The threat of a shutdown just means my contracting team is distracted by other things. And they already have a lot to do. I mean, these are people who are doing logistics for war. These are not bored people. And so then having to delay their own thing. I mean, they're going without things that they need right now because they can't get to it, because they get distracted by it. And it means that, a week of a shutdown might result in an 8-week delay in an acquisition being posted. I don't know why. It's like dog years. I don't know.
I feel like it is. Well, it kind of is when it's government, because they take. Well, I mean, I just think like 8A finally reopened, and like this would just like totally screw us again. Like
it would,
and
it would totally slow down the catch up that the SBA has been doing on the recent court decision.
Was that a dog bark?
Oh yeah, that's all. That's all of them. All of them were like, Tim's on the phone.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's okay. Everybody who's a listener of this podcast is used to it. Okay, so on top of that, it also aren't we already backed up with WASB certifications as well?
Well, I think they've really caught up a lot. The SBA, the Small Business Administration Office of Government Contracting, or SBA OGC, has, I think, 6 or 10 people dedicated to the WASB program, the Woman-Owned Small Business Certification Program. And they are so hardworking, and they've gotten through a backlog, when Congress required SBA to take over the certification for women-owned small businesses, they didn't have a platform for it. They really had to create it from scratch. They were relying on self-certification and third-party certifications for those companies. So they really had to build that up. They've done a great job, and they've removed the backlog. Elisa Sheard is amazing. She runs that office. I mean, they're great. I think they're pretty caught up. But then the SBA got, hijacked in a different direction because of the SBA court decision, or the 8A court decision. Yeah, a little off topic there too. But
do you want to fill people in on that real quick who have zero idea what we're talking about?
So the set aside programs and sole source programs that are available through the federal government ensure that underrepresented contracting groups have a place in the federal contracting table. Now, I'm really quick to say that is not an act of charity. That is good government. You don't want stratified, you don't want a stratified vendor pool of only big companies. Small companies are more innovative. We come up with creative ideas. In a lot of cases, our pricing structures are better because there's a little less bloat in a small business. So there's a lot of reasons why the federal government operates these small business contracting programs, and it's all good. The 8A program is really the only one that minority business enterprises naturally fit within. And there's a sidebar on that after maybe bourbon of why that maybe is a little pejorative.
You're a bourbon drinker.
I know. I'm an adult and I drink bourbon. I don't have to have orange juice in my beverage, and it can even have bubbles. Bodie, it can even have bubbles.
Getting my vitamin C.
So for a long time, the 8A program made a presumption that that certain types of business owners, and mostly those are racial minorities, had a presumption of social disadvantage. And so to qualify for the 8A program, they only had to prove economic disadvantage. So they had to submit, tax returns and things. It's very intrusive to become 8A certified. It's a lot of work. Well, the court struck down the presumption of social disadvantage. So all of the companies that had already qualified for the 8A program without having to do a narrative of social disadvantage, because they were in that presumed group, had to scramble to do them. And so the SBA had to temporarily completely shut down accepting new 8A applications. And then they had to go back to the existing applicants that didn't have a statement of social disadvantage within their 8A original application, and they had to submit them. And candidly, the SBA, I think, was very nimble in their response. I have no reason to suck up to the SBA. They killed it on their response. I mean, they didn't expect the decision when it came down. They shut down the program right away, and then they built a triage plan and implemented it. And it seems like they have a good strategy. We're not sure what's going to happen next in this court decision.
I've been really impressed with Isabella Guzman's
oh my gosh,
leadership.
Yeah.
Very much so. I do want to talk a little bit before, because obviously it's been a little doom and gloom. What do you, I mean, it is. What, if we want to talk a little bit how you prepare for it, because when we talk about this, we talk about government contractors that impacts, but I'm not a government contractor, but I work with government contractors. So it impacts me as a small business owner. So there's a ripple effect that, and then there's everybody, we said that, it has any sort of loans or things like that through the government, that's it impacts us all. So how can, that this is looming, and I don't have a lot of faith, quite frankly, in the government or our new Speaker of the House. What can people do to prepare? From your perspective, as a federal contractor, your advice?
So first, I would throw out there that there are things that we can do right now. One of those things is to contact your damn congressperson and let them know that this is a priority. I will throw out there that if you're listening to this and you live in Michigan, you are terribly fortunate. We have a congressional delegation in Michigan that works together in a bipartisan fashion to get shit done for our state. I mean that with my whole heart. Both our two senators and our congressional delegation in the House as well, they really work together. I mean, if I send my congressperson is John Molinar, if I send him a message on the budget, which I did last week, because Women Impacting Public Policy told me to. And so I do those things. And so I got a note back from him within an hour, and it wasn't form. It was actually kind of thoughtful. I didn't understand about this organization. It was a good response. They need to hear that it matters. Now, there's only 8 or 10 people that are totally hijacking the process and getting in the way of stopgap spending. Yeah. And those are, not from Michigan, which I'm really happy about. Sorry, Florida. Really bummer.
Same.
Bummer for you guys. But for so many reasons.
Florida.
For so many reasons. Yeah, bummer. Good thing you have weather. So that's one thing. I think there's some things that we can do proactively. We can't just sit back and bitch about them not doing things when we don't tell them that those things are a priority to the electorate. Second, I think making sure employees are well informed. My employees can't not know, making sure that they understand that if there's a government shutdown, that doesn't mean I'm doing layoffs or something like that. I mean, we're fine. We're going to keep going, and we're going to have to have a contingency plan, and that contingency plan is going to have a lot of ifs. And so, we stay in contact. We've got, about 15 different federal contracts. We stay in contact with our contracting officers as those things are coming up. We say, hey, we understand you don't have all the answers, but we just want to make sure that we're on your we're on your list for communication when you know more about whether or not you'll be able to accept deliveries. I mean, I'm a specific case because these are warehouses and some of them will be open and some of them won't, I mean, there's just contingency planning. And I really think communication with employees is a big deal. And suppliers too.
Agreed.
Like for me, like part of one of my stakeholder groups are the people who are doing production for me, or people who are, I don't know, even our carriers, I want to make sure that we're communicating well with them as well. So
and that's right
really
there, people, is a crisis communication plan. Crisis communication plan. You have to have a process in place. I talk about it all the time. And that process should not be put in place when the crisis is already happening. For the love of God, have a crisis communication plan. If you don't know what to do, I have so many blogs out there on 834. Just go there. I give you step-by-step instructions. But the biggest thing you need to do is you have to inform all parties. You have to have uniform language. You have to plan for all scenarios. And then you have to have communication and steps that go along with each one of those scenarios.
I would add something
and before
to that,
we move on to,
I'm going to add something to that. Make sure that you have somebody like an 834, because like I don't think I've told you this before, but our disaster response plan has your contact information in it. So a plane hits our building, whatever, who's going to help us communicate externally, not just with my employees and my internal stakeholders and my external stakeholders, but the community, if that information needs to get out there. That's a really critical step in that too. And I would throw out there that when you build that crisis communication plan and you're a federal contractor, you're not just going to use it once. You're going to use it every time there's a threat of a shutdown, just the threat.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me know that. Two, if anything happens to me, you get all 8 of my dogs. So you're welcome.
I do think that maybe Eric gets a handful of those. I think your brother gets some of those dogs. And I'm just going to give him the ones that I don't like as much. Maybe the ones in diapers or the ones that they can't see. I'm not sure.
Right now, that's like 3/4 of them. So
I do like Jax. I like Jax a lot. I know he's a pain in the ass, but he's my boyfriend.
Yeah, but he fits in really well with your group. So before
Rocco's going to be mad at him for being a boy.
Okay, before we, you mentioned with women impacting public policy, there's also your small business associations. Every single state has one. Like in Michigan, we have one of the strongest lobbying small business associations in, I think, the country. And if I'm wrong, correct me. Working on behalf of small businesses to protect us and any of the crappy legislation that gets put out there, potential. So you need to be involved with these organizations. And if you are listening and you're from Michigan, go and join the Small Business Association of Michigan now. It's sbam.org. Go and join. It's literally cost you nothing.
Hey, Bodie, let's go ahead and add the National Defense Industrial Association into that mix. It's a really reasonable price point to join the organization. And I will tell you that DoD stakeholders care about input from industry, and that NDIA is a really good funnel for that. Especially for small businesses. They have large businesses obviously as members and part of the board as well. But I've had the honor of serving on the national board for NDIA, and I see what they're doing. I see what they're putting out there. I see what the communication is that they're having with leaders within the defense industry. And it's not trivial. I mean, they're doing incredible work. And including on the shutdown. I mean, we get surveys from NDIA to say, help us communicate with Congress about how this affects you. So they're taking that message directly to Congress as well. And it's
the same thing with Women Impacting Public Policy. It's WIPP.org. Go join. I don't remember how much it is, but their principles are advocacy, community, and education. And it is. If you are anywhere in this space and, female or male, you need to be involved in these organizations. So,
and of course, we have to mention WID again, women in defense, especially if you're in Michigan, Yes. Largest chapter in the country, Michigan. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. A few things coming up. We obviously have our gala, but you won't be able to get a ticket because it's basically already sold out. So just know you missed out.
You just can't come, and it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We do have a holiday event on December 6th. Also, Women Impacting Public Policy has their Unity Week coming up, and it's the week after Thanksgiving, and that is going to be in Philadelphia. We'll post some links to this in our recap blog. And then the Small Business Association of Michigan, I'm hosting a rather kick-ass party for a fundraiser for our PAC. which again then goes to helping get small business friendly legislation passed, and also supporting small business friendly candidates. So that will be November 9th at my house. There will be dogs to pet, and there will be food and drink.
And just as a sidebar, all of these organizations are either nonpartisan or intentionally bipartisan, and SBAM is the latter. SBAM goes out of its way to be intentionally bipartisan, knowing that we have to work on supporting small business advocacy issues, and we don't give a shit if you have a D or an R after your name. So
100%.
it's a widely respected organization for that purpose too.
Yeah, and also vote, you dumbasses. Get out there and vote.
Do you remember, Bodhi, back in the day when I would just hand you a sticky note with who to vote for, and then you would go and do that? And now you totally tell me things. It's great. Your progression, not just as a voter, you were always a voter. You were just like, I don't want to think about the people. I'm irritated with all of them. And now
I want to be educated on the right. Yeah, yes. I want to be educated and not vote for like the wrong ones. So, all right. Is there any closing remarks you'd like to add to this?
Yeah, I think the one thing that's extremely important is that in some cases, going back to the shutdown and the threat of a shutdown, in some cases, these threats weed out the weak. And the reality is, I think that's fine. I actually think it's fine, because if you choose to be especially part of the defense industrial base, you have an obligation to cyber hygiene. You have an obligation to compliance programs and contract management. And man, if you can't do that, get out, because the warfighters deserve better.
Yep. I could not end that better if I tried, so I won't even try. I will just say we will have a recap about all of this, because there's a lot of things I want to connect you with, a lot of resources that I think, listeners or, anybody working within the space needs to know about. This is an important topic. We make light of things sometimes on this podcast, but this is a really, really important topic. So we're coming at you hard with it. So, Sue, thank you for being here. Always a fucking pleasure, obviously.
I mean, we're fun people. We're fun people.
We really
I didn't swear that much on this podcast either. I forgot that it was sanctioned.
I tried to make up for it.
Thank you.
For you.
Thank you.
I think you said shit,
now the world
that
is
doesn't really count. Yeah, the world is happy now. All right, hustlers. We'll see you on the download. Thanks again for tuning in.